Italy is more than a place. It's a living masterpiece. It's the echo of footsteps on ancient stone, the aroma of espresso drifting through morning air, the golden light dancing across painted ceilings and endless coastlines. With every city and village, Italy tells a story of beauty, of passion, of time itself. Join us now as we journey through its soul, one breathtaking moment at a time. Step into the Roman Forum and you're not just visiting ruins, you're walking through the very soul of an empire. Beneath the golden light of the Italian sun, these crumbling columns and silent stones come alive with the echoes of a time when Rome was the heartbeat of the world. This was the place where history was not only made, it was lived. Imagine senators in crimson robes debating laws that would change civilizations. Picture the triumphal marches of victorious generals, the cheers of citizens rising like thunder through the valley. Every stone, every shadow holds the memory of a world that believed it would never fall. As you wander through this ancient civic center, you stand in the footsteps of Julius Caesar, whose ashes rest nearby, and Augustus, who shaped a golden age. You pass by the Temple of Saturn, where Rome's treasure was once guarded, and the Arch of Septimius Severus, carved in celebration of distant victories. The Basilica of Maxentius towers in majestic ruin, its remaining arches defying the centuries. Here, democracy was tested, power was flaunted, and destiny was debated. The silence now is profound, but it speaks volumes. The Roman Forum is not just a sight to admire, it's a story to feel, a reminder that greatness, no matter how weathered by time, never truly fades. Beneath the Roman sky, where twilight paints the city in gold and rose, the Trevi Fountain glows like a dream carved from marble. It is more than a fountain. It is a theater of water and myth, a masterpiece of Baroque imagination that stirs something deep in the soul. As you turn the corner of a narrow cobbled street and first lay eyes upon it, the scene takes your breath away. Neptune, the god of the sea, rides a shell-shaped chariot pulled by wild seahorses. Water cascades around him like music turned liquid. Every sculpture, every ripple tells a story of power, beauty, and the eternal rhythm of life. Crowds gather, hushed not by force but by awe, watching as wishes are cast into the fountain's clear, dancing waters. The tradition is timeless. Stand with your back to the basin, close your eyes, and toss a coin over your left shoulder. They say it guarantees your return to Rome, but it feels like something more. It's a moment suspended in time, a quiet prayer disguised as a tourist ritual. Over 1 million euros are thrown into the fountain every year, not for luck alone, but as a collective whisper of hope, love, and longing. At night, the Trevi Fountain becomes something ethereal. Illuminated by soft lights, it glows like a beacon in the dark, a promise that beauty still matters in this world. It is impossible to stand before it and not feel moved. For just a moment, surrounded by history and water and light, you believe in magic. In the heart of Vatican City, beneath an endless sky and the watchful gaze of saints carved in stone, stands St. Peter's Basilica, a sacred marvel that transcends time, faith, and imagination. It is not merely a church, it is a spiritual colossus, a place where stone and light seem to breathe with divine purpose. As you step into the square, the grandeur unfolds slowly. Bernini's embracing colonnades stretch like arms welcoming the world, and at the center, the Egyptian obelisk stands as a sentinel to centuries of belief, sacrifice, and transformation. Inside, the vastness of the basilica swallows you in awe. The air is cool, touched with the scent of incense and old stone. The dome, designed by Michelangelo himself, soars toward heaven, filtering light in golden beams that seem to speak directly to the soul. Beneath it lies the altar, and beneath the altar, the tomb of St. Peter, the fisherman who became a pillar of the church. Around you, marble angels weep, saints stand in silent vigil, and pilgrims from every corner of the earth move in quiet reverence. Every mosaic glitters with holy intent. Every shadow speaks of eternity. And then there is Michelangelo's Pietà, resting in serene silence behind its shield of glass. Mary cradles the lifeless body of Christ, and in that single sculpture, sorrow and peace exist side by side. It is beauty beyond words, carved by a 24-year-old genius whose hands seemed guided by heaven itself. St. Peter's is not just a destination. It is an experience that humbles, uplifts, and lingers long after you've stepped outside its doors. It is a cathedral of wonder, where the divine meets the human heart. In the heart of Florence, where the Arno River flows gently under the Tuscan sun, stands the Ponte Vecchio, a bridge that is more than stone and span. It is a living storybook, a timeless crossing where centuries of history, art, and passion converge. As you approach, the warm colors of its ochre and terracotta buildings shimmer above the water, their reflections dancing like memories. This is no ordinary bridge. It is a world suspended between time and beauty, between trade and poetry. Once lined with butchers and tanners, the bridge transformed in the Renaissance into a haven for goldsmiths and jewelers, whose glittering treasures still beckon from shop windows today. As you walk across the weathered stone path, the air seems to shimmer with romance and history. You can almost hear the whispers of Medici dukes passing overhead on the Vasari corridor, a secret passageway built so they could move between palace and palace, untouched by the crowds below. There is something deeply human about Ponte Vecchio. It is not pristine. It is imperfect, irregular, even a little crooked, but it is beloved. At sunset, couples gather at its edge, watching the sky bleed into the river, the golden light wrapping the bridge in a kind of silent grace. Musicians play softly in the background, and for a moment, time holds its breath. To stand on the Ponte Vecchio is to feel the heartbeat of Florence, steady, soulful, and impossibly beautiful. It reminds us that sometimes the most lasting connections are not perfect, but deeply, defiantly alive. Rolling hills stretch as far as the eye can see, draped in vineyards, olive groves, and golden sunlight. Welcome to the Chianti Region, where the soul of Tuscany lives and breathes in every glass of wine, every breeze that stirs the cypress trees, and every sunset that stains the sky with fire. This is not just a place, it is a feeling, a rhythm, a deep exhale from the rush of the modern world. Here, life moves with purpose, with flavor, with heart. Villages of warm stone and terracotta roofs sit atop gentle slopes, each one with its own story, its own centuries-old bell tower, calling out across the landscape. In these quiet towns, Grieve, Rada, Castellina, time seems to soften. You wander cobbled streets where artisans still shape leather by hand, and winemakers pour their passion into ruby-red bottles of Chianti Classico. The scent of rosemary and wood smoke lingers in the air, mingling with the earthy perfume of the vines. And then there is the wine, rich, bold, kissed by the sun and born of the soil. To sip Chianti in Chianti is to taste the land itself, to understand the way Tuscan hands have worked and loved this earth for generations. Meals stretch long into the evening, under pergolas heavy with grapevines, where stories are shared and laughter flows as easily as the wine. The Chianti region is not about sights. It is about sensations. It invites you to slow down, to savor, and to remember what it means to truly live. There is no street in the world quite like Venice's Grand Canal, a shimmering ribbon of water that winds through a city built not on land, but on dreams. The Grand Canal is not simply a waterway. It is the lifeblood of Venice, a liquid avenue that has carried gondolas, merchants, lovers, and legends for more than 1,000 years. Here, boats glide where cars dare not go, and every turn offers a view that feels borrowed from a painting. As you float gently along its curve, palaces rise on either side like time-worn guardians of beauty and history, their facades, kissed by centuries of sun and salt, bear the faded elegance of a glorious past. Byzantine arches, Gothic windows, Baroque flourishes. Once the homes of powerful Venetian families, these buildings now lean ever so slightly toward the water, as if listening to its eternal song. Above, church domes and bell towers crown the skyline, while below, reflections ripple like delicate lace. By day, the Grand Canal is alive with movement, Vaporetto water buses, delivery boats, and the elegant silhouettes of gondolas steered by men in striped shirts and straw hats. But it is at dusk that the magic deepens. As the sun sinks into the lagoon, golden light dances across the water and the city seems to sigh with old romantic secrets. The sound of lapping waves mingles with distant bells, and everything feels suspended in time. To travel the Grand Canal is to surrender to Venice itself, to its mystery, its melancholy, its breathtaking defiance of logic. In a world that races forward, this place still floats gently on memory and marvel. At first glance, it almost feels like an illusion, a graceful tower of white marble, tilted as if caught in the middle of a slow, elegant fall. But this is no trick of the eye. This is the Leaning Tower of Pisa, a monument to both human ambition and the beautiful unpredictability of time. Rising from the green field of miracles, surrounded by the pristine lines of Pisa's cathedral and baptistry, the tower draws the world in with a single question: how is it still standing? Construction began nearly 9 centuries ago with dreams of creating a flawless bell tower. But only a few levels in, the ground beneath began to shift and the tower began to lean. Most builders would have abandoned it. Pisa did not. Over generations, architects and engineers tried everything to save it, each effort becoming part of its strange and wonderful story. What emerged is not a failure, but a masterpiece of persistence. Climbing the spiral staircase is like stepping through history. The stone steps curve unevenly beneath your feet, worn smooth by countless pilgrims and travelers. Each window reveals a new angle of the city below: red-tiled rooftops, the gentle Arno River, and rolling Tuscan hills in the distance. As you reach the top, the bells rest quietly in their towers, watching over a world that once doubted this tower would survive. Yet it has, not in spite of its flaw, but because of it. The Leaning Tower of Pisa reminds us that beauty is not always found in perfection. Sometimes it is the imperfections, the unexpected tilt, the long wait, the patient strength that makes something unforgettable. It stands as a symbol of resilience, wonder, and the quiet courage to endure. Beneath the shadow of Mount Vesuvius lies a city frozen in time, Pompeii, where the past whispers through silent streets and every stone remembers. This ancient Roman town, once vibrant with life, now stands still, preserved by the very disaster that destroyed it. In the year 79, the volcano erupted without mercy, covering Pompeii in a cloak of ash and fire. Thousands perished and the city disappeared from sight for centuries, buried beneath the weight of history. Today, walking through Pompeii is like stepping into a lost world. The cobblestone roads still bear the grooves of ancient cartwheels. Frescoes on villa walls burst with color, telling stories of gods, feasts, and daily life. You can stand in the central forum where merchants once shouted their prices, or in the amphitheater where gladiators fought for glory. Even bakeries remain, their ovens intact, with loaves of bread turned to stone. It is haunting and deeply human, a city where life was interrupted mid-sentence, and then there are the figures, cast in ash, frozen in their final moments, arms shielding faces, bodies curled in fear, lovers clutching one another. They remind us not just of tragedy, but of life's fragility. Pompeii is not a ruin of war or neglect. It is a city paused by nature itself, and yet, through the silence and the sorrow, there is immense beauty. It teaches us to listen, to feel, to remember. In Pompeii, the ancient world still breathes, inviting us to stand in reverence and wonder. Where cliffs plunge into a sea so blue it feels unreal, and pastel-colored villages cling like seashells to the rock. The Amalfi Coast unfolds like a love letter written by nature itself. Stretching along the southern edge of Italy's Sorrentine Peninsula, this breathtaking coastline is not just scenery, it is an emotion. Every curve of the road reveals another slice of heaven. Terraced lemon groves, tiled church domes, and balconies overflowing with bougainvillea that tumble toward the sea like spilled paint. The towns here, Positano, Amalfi, Ravello, each carry their own magic. In Positano, houses cascade down the cliffside like a waterfall of light. In Amalfi, the Grand Cathedral rises over a sun-drenched piazza where the sound of clinking glasses and children's laughter dances through the air. And in Ravello, perched high above it all, music echoes from ancient villas as the sun dips below the horizon in a blaze of gold and crimson. This coast is a mosaic of beauty, both wild and intimate. The scent of lemons, sea salt, and fresh espresso floats through the air, while small boats bob gently in hidden coves below. Here, time bends and slows. Days stretch long under the sun, and evenings are wrapped in warm breezes and candlelight. Whether you're sipping limoncello on a terrace or watching the moon rise over the Tyrrhenian Sea, the Amalfi Coast does not just impress, it entrenches. It pulls you in, holds you close, and makes you believe that paradise is not an idea, but a place you can stand in, breathe in, and never want to leave. Sardinia is not merely an island, it is a mystery wrapped in turquoise waves and ancient stone. Floating in the heart of the Mediterranean, it feels like another world entirely, untouched by time, untouched by haste. This is a land of contrasts, white sand beaches and rugged mountains, medieval towns and prehistoric ruins, sunlit vineyards and silent shepherd paths. Sardinia whispers its secrets, and if you listen closely, you'll hear the stories etched into every wave, every breeze, every crumbling stone. Along the shimmering Costa Smeralda, the sea glows in impossible shades of blue and green, drawing yachts and dreamers alike. But just beyond the glamorous marinas lie hidden coves where cliffs fall into quiet waters, and the only sound is the gentle rhythm of the tide. Inland, the land rises into wild beauty. You'll find Nuraghe, mysterious stone towers older than Rome, older even than memory. No one knows exactly who built them or why, but they stand like sentinels from another age, watching over olive trees and wind-blown fields. Life here is simple, rich, and rooted in tradition. In villages like Orgosolo and Bosa, murals tell tales of struggle and pride. Meals are slow, soulful affairs. Homemade bread, roasted lamb, honey-soaked pastries passed hand to hand, heart to heart. Sardinians speak of blue zones where people live longer, laugh louder, love deeper, and maybe it's true. Maybe time really moves differently here. On Sardinia, you do not just visit. You feel, you wander, you return to something ancient inside yourself. Sicily rises from the Mediterranean like a legend, bold, beautiful, and bursting with life. It is Italy's largest island, but more than that, it is a world unto itself, shaped by gods and conquerors, volcanoes and vineyards, tragedy and triumph. Every stone, every flavor, every note of music feels older, richer, deeper. The island's heartbeat is ancient and fierce, yet it welcomes you with open arms and sun-warmed skin. Mount Etna, the tallest active volcano in Europe, looms in the distance, smoking, rumbling, alive. It has shaped not only the land, but the people who live with awe and resilience in its shadow. Towns like Taormina and Catania nestle into the hillsides, offering views that stretch from volcanic peaks to endless sea. The ruins of Greek theaters still echo with the voices of long-lost plays. In Agrigento, the Valley of the Temples stands golden against the sky, its columns rising like prayers from the earth. But Sicily is not only its history, it is its passion. The markets of Palermo sing with color and noise. Spices, fish, citrus, olives, all mingling in a joyful chaos. Arancini, cannoli, and pasta alla norma tell stories through flavor, each bite a celebration. Here, traditions are not museum pieces. They are alive, passed down in kitchens, in festivals lit by fireworks and music that flows like wine. Sicily does not ask to be understood. It dares you to feel, and once you do, it stays with you like a flame that never fades. In the ancient heart of southern Italy, where stone cliffs rise beneath a blazing sun, lies a city unlike any other, Matera, carved from the earth itself. The Sassi di Matera are not buildings placed on land, they are the land. Homes, churches, and passageways sculpted directly into limestone, stacked in layers like forgotten pages of a sacred book. To walk through the Sassi is to journey backward through millennia, where the line between past and present blurs with every step. These cave dwellings, some inhabited since the Paleolithic era, whisper stories of survival, faith, and reinvention. For centuries, the people of Matera lived close to the rock, in homes that stayed cool through scorching summers and warm through bitter winters. Life was simple, hard, and deeply connected to the rhythm of the land. But in the 20th century, the Sassi fell into decay, labeled a national shame, abandoned to time and silence. Yet, like the resilient stone they are carved from, Matera endured. Today, the Sassi rise again, not as ruins, but as a rebirth. Restored into homes, galleries, and hotels, they welcome visitors from around the world. Candlelight flickers inside ancient chapels, and laughter echoes off the same walls that once heard only prayer and hardship. Matera's beauty is not polished. It is raw, soulful, and breathtaking. At twilight, when the golden light settles over the labyrinth of caves and stairways, the city glows like a forgotten star reborn. Matera reminds us that even in silence, even in shadow, beauty waits to rise again. Nestled between snow-capped Alps and blooming gardens, Lake Maggiore stretches like a silken ribbon through northern Italy, its waters calm, deep, and endlessly reflective. It is a place that feels suspended between seasons, where the cool mountain air kisses the warmth of the Italian sun, and where silence carries the scent of magnolias, jasmine, and history. This is not a lake you merely see, it is one you feel quietly and completely. The Borromean Islands rise gently from its surface like jewels. Isola Bella, with its Baroque palace and cascading terraces of white peacocks and marble statues. Isola Madre, where exotic flowers bloom beneath ancient cypress trees. And Isola dei Pescatori, a humble fishing village wrapped in old-world charm. Boats drift from island to island, their wakes trailing silver across the water, as if time itself moves more gently here. Along the lake's edge, elegant villas and Belle Epoque hotels peek through curtains of wisteria, each one holding stories of poets, painters, and dreamers who found refuge in its stillness. In Stresa, you might hear soft piano music spill from an open window. In Verbania, you'll stroll past markets full of handmade cheeses and sun-warmed fruits. And all around, the mountains guard the lake like patient giants, their reflections rippling softly with every breeze. Lake Maggiore is not grand in the way of cities or cathedrals. Its magic lies in its serenity, its poetry, its sense of something quietly eternal. To stand at its shore is to feel your breath slow, your thoughts quiet, and your heart open, wide, and still like the water itself. Our journey through Italy may end here, but its spirit lingers, like music in a quiet room, like sun on your skin long after it sets. These memories, carved in stone and carried on the breeze, will stay with you, because once you've touched Italy, it touches you back in ways that never truly fade. Until next time, arrivederci.